The readings for Saturday, January 28th. The epistle reading is from St. Paul's letter to the Galatians, chapter 5, verses 22 through 26, and chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. And those who are Christ's have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another. Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. All right. This is definitely a repeat offender, this passage. I think a few more times I'll be able to recite it by heart, which I guess is the point, right? I guess maybe that's kind of the point of the structure of these. I haven't really considered that. Anyways, got some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. So for this exact passage, verses chapter 5, verse 22 through chapter 6, verse 2, it says that this passage is read on days commemorating holy monks. And what do you know it? Today we venerate Ephraim the Syrian and Saint Isaac the Syrian, along with some others: Grace the Martyr, Theodosius of Totma, James the Righteous. But the two Syrians, if you will, those are some definite MVPs in the church. Isaac the Syrian, Bishop of Nineveh, is actually one of my favorites, honestly. A lot of great wisdom attributed to his quotes and everything. I implore you to look them up, but we'll continue on with the footnotes. For chapter 5, verse 25, a walk in the Spirit comes from life in the Spirit. For chapter 6, verse 1, to be able to administer correction with gentleness is a spiritual gift. And for chapter 6, verse 2, Paul admonishes us to bear one another's burdens. But moments later, he notes that, quote, each one shall bear his own load, unquote, in verse 5. Both are true. We are called to initiate caregiving in the church and not to be needless burdens to others. The Gospel reading is from the book of Luke, chapter 6, verses 17 through 23. And he came down with them and stood on a level place with a crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people from all Judea and Jerusalem, and from the seacoast of Tyre and Sidon, who came to hear him and be healed of their diseases, as well as those who were tormented with unclean spirits. And they were healed. And the whole multitude sought to touch him, for power went out from him and healed them all. Then he lifted up his eyes toward his disciples and said, Blessed are you poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who hunger now, for you shall be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you shall laugh. Blessed are you when men hate you, and when they exclude you, and revile you, and cast out your name as evil, for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice in that day, and leap for joy. For indeed your reward is great in heaven. For in like manner their fathers did to the prophets. All right, got some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. So anytime I've read this passage, I've never read this footnote because it has considerable more readings. So it says for chapter 6, verse 17 through 23, which is what we read today and many other days now so far. Chapter 6, verses 17 through 23, as well as, though, chapter 10, verses 22 through 24, and chapter 14, verses 25 through 35. This footnote is for all of them, and I've never read those together. It just says, this passage is read on days commemorating hierarchs, hero martyrs, and monks. And we definitely do read chapter 6, verse 17 through 23 on days commemorating monks like today, but we've never read yet any of those other verses. Does anybody know what's up with that? If you have a patristic answer, please comment below. I will read it. Nevertheless, the regular footnotes here. There's just one, and it's a long one. It's chapter 6, verse 17 through 49, so quite a bit past what we read just here, but feel free to read on your own apps and Bibles to get the context. For chapter 6, verse 17 through 49, it just says to see the footnotes at Matthew chapters 5 through 7. This sermon is on the plain, or level place, in verse 17, is similar in content to the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapters 5 through 7, though not as extensive. Jesus repeated many of his teachings over a period of 3 years. See the footnote at John chapter 2, verse 23. Well, that's going to do it, everybody. Hope you have a marvelous and blessed weekend. And, please keep me, a sinner, in your prayers. Thank you.